So, first of all, one thing to remember is that even though you've opened this program, you have to turn on the audio engine, okay? And the audio engine turns on down there, the little speaker. So if you push the speaker, it has to be light blue for it to work.
Right.
Otherwise, the audio engine's off. The second thing is configuring your DSP. So to make sure, I mean, this probably doesn't matter for you because it'll just automatically output.
Right now, yeah.
If you go to, oh man, where is it? Oh, is it really? Oh, no, it is. Under the speaker, configure DSP. This is where you would like set your inputs and outputs if they changed or something. And actually, one thing you do want to do, see where it says scheduler and overdrive audio? Click on that. Audio interrupt, turn that on too. Good. What that does is prioritize max to make rhythm accurate. Otherwise, it'll do weird things like if the hard drive's running, max will slow down, and then suddenly your tempo's all messed up, right? So you want it to say, and sometimes that means it'll take longer for something to open, but it doesn't matter. It's going to work in time. So first of all, let's just go from left to right from the top. So first of all, to make this start playing, you hit the space bar. And actually, I'm sorry, before that even, we need to load audio files in here. Okay, now there are two methods, but one method is a little sketchier than the other. First of all, you're way better off using WAV files and AIF files, uncompressed audio, okay? But I should be able to drag and drop audio straight into this window, okay? It can be any audio, but if you use formats like M4As, it's probably not going to work and just nothing will pop up in there, okay? So, anyways, there's also something called the library, and let me show you that. Down here under the mute button, so if you hit M too, if you're out of there. If you hit M, it's going to turn on the mute.
Right.
So that's the mute button on and off. Right under it, it says library. And if you click on the library, that opens, you then choose a folder, okay? So if you see mine, I'm choosing this folder called Barn Metals. And then you'll notice that all of these audio files populate these pull-down menus. Every audio file in that folder, which can be super useful and quick. You know, it's a quick way of accessing your files if you're using the same folder for everything. Otherwise, you can just drag and drop, okay? So, anyways, it should be ready to go now. If I hit the space bar, it should work. And what's going to happen is it's going to play a sound from the very beginning of this, most likely. Let me make sure my audio is correct. Now, it's possible there's silence at the very beginning of this. Why is this not making sound? I swear Max lately just hates me. So this has been I wonder, I'm kind of curious. The drag and drop I have not been getting to work, and I'm wondering if that's part of the problem. So I would just use the library sequence, right? Click on the library, find the folder you want, and then upload it. Then pull down, really all you need is the top file here, okay? The top one. That's the one that's playing currently, and I'll explain in a minute how that works. So anyway, so what's going to happen now?
Did I get it right?
Yep, open. Yep, and now if you go to the top, you should be able to see. Oh, that's not the top. There's one more above that.
Oh, that's why. Right. Yeah, it's not like fully. It's okay.
Yeah, now select one of those files. There you go. So now if you hit the space bar, you hear it. Yeah. Okay. So first of all, obviously pan is pan, right? The R underneath anything like this means that it's going to randomize. So if I hit R now, you can see as soon as I hit play, it's going to start randomizing panning, which can be really cool if you have a bunch of them doing that at once, okay? This is your pitch, okay? So if I hit the space bar, and I start doing this, it's going to transpose the pitch. Okay? Now, negative 24 is exactly what you'd expect. It's 2 octaves lower, right? Negative 12 is 1 octave lower. If I hit reset, it's going to go back to 0, which means normal pitch and speed. Actually, the speed is always the same on here. It doesn't get faster or slower.
Right.
Plus 12 is an octave higher. Plus 24 is 2 octaves higher. Okay? If I turn this on, so if I hit R here, you can see what's happening. It's randomizing. And I can also set the range of randomization. See how I'm like clicking and dragging this box, and it's randomizing inside a small area that I kind of correlates with the...
Does it have to be from the middle? Or
can be from anywhere. So if you want to randomize, it has to be running to work too. Right. But yeah, that's how that works. I don't really use that very often, to be honest. Reset this. If I choose random octave, turn this on, what it's going to do is randomize octaves arbitrarily. So, it's going to just randomly choose different octaves. Okay? If I turn it off, it goes back to wherever it was. Okay? I can also, so for instance, if I have something that has pitch, if I have a MIDI keyboard connected, I mean, you can have it without pitch too. If I turn keyboard on, I can play notes. I can also play notes down here.
MIDI as well?
Yes. So if I plug this in, it'll work. Okay. It'll work automatically. Okay.
Do you have to like set something up to do that, or
no? It should just pick it up.
Nice.
Yep. So the keyboard, obviously, it's only going to work on the ones I choose, right?
Right.
And then there are also octave settings for the keyboard down here. Okay. So sequences. So if I want to play it an octave higher, then I can click 8VA and it'll play an octave higher from the note I play on the keyboard. The sequencing part here. So this is the first kind of confusing thing that it does.
Another question. I'm really sorry.
Sure, no, ask questions all day.
What if the keyboard has a function where you can change octaves as well? Because I have another Octave.
That will probably work also.
Okay.
But there is a set range of how far it will go.
Right.
And
that could take it further?
Probably.
Interesting.
Cool. I'm not sure, though. I know that your octave key will work.
Yeah.
Because all that does is the keyboard sends plus 12. And then it gets another plus 12 if you at 8VA. Okay, so the sequence here, if I have multiple audio files in here, like this, I don't want that one, like this, if I just grab a bunch of different audio files, all from the same folder, they have to be in the same folder because that's the only way to do the pull-down menu. If I turn sequence on, you're now going to see every half note, it's going to jump to the next audio file. Okay? Which can be really cool, especially if you have several versions of a single sound, right? Like 4 different hi-hats. Like I do drums in this thing all the time to create variations. I can also change the note value. If I wanted to change every quarter note, I change it to quarter. Okay? So the sequence is really useful. If you're not using it, just use the top one only. Okay? Then that one will play constantly. Anyway, so that's it for that. If I go on here, the audio selection, first of all, you can choose the audio file like this. And what happens is wherever you choose, if you click once, it's going to choose just that audio moment. Okay? So you can see, but I can also hit random here and then choose a note value. If I choose 8 notes, quarter notes, watch what's going to happen. That value is jumping around every quarter note. So this is another great way of creating variation. Like if you have a bunch of hi-hats or whatever, you want to create constant change. You put 2 hi-hats in here, you randomize where they start, and they're constantly different. Right. It's really cool. Unfortunately, this thing down here is connected to the pitch. And it's actually really cool because what I can do is I can do this, turn the LFO on, and look what I get. Okay.
Some sort of, okay.
And it's going to change to the pitch now. The pitch is going to ramp. It's too bad this isn't over here with that. It's a little confusing, but that's the way I found place for it. So anyways, and this sets the range of the LFO, right? If I want the entire thing, I select the entire thing. If I want just the middle, a little bit of pitch variation, I can do that, okay? Anyway, so that's the basic control here of all that. Let's move on then to the next bit. So when we get into here, man, this is where things get confusing. I'm going to leave this out for now. I don't ever use this actually. But let's talk about these. So you can see that this is a line. Did I turn the LFO off? Let me turn that off and just set this back to the middle. You can see that there are 4 of these because there are 4 beats. Okay, we're in 4/4 time basically. Again, too, your tempo is down here at the bottom. See how it says 120? That's the tempo, but these also all have their own tempos. So if you wanted to, you could set this to 60. In fact, I do this all the time. I have 1 in 60 and 1 in 120, and then I have multiple note values. Sometimes I do crazy shit too, like 240, and then I get super rhythmic, high, fast, right, stuff. Obviously, my tempo is not really 240, but it allows me to access all sorts of new insane fast stuff that I want to do if I want to do it. 120. So anyways, the way this works, this is the pitch profile of each sample. And the way it works is in the center where it says 12, and it's unfortunate it says 12. I wish it said 0, but it's just the way it worked out. All of these are half steps. So 13, 14, 15, up to 24 is 2 octaves. Or 1 octave, sorry. Right. Okay? So if I crank this up to the top, it's going to give me basically, it's going to play the octave above. Okay?
So okay, yes.
And if I do something like this, okay, that's not working right because the note value is too short. Oh, why is that not working right? Oh, fuck. That's annoying. So anyway, so I can map this to do, and I can add other nodes in here too by clicking on them. I can shift click them to get rid of them.
Right.
But I should be able to. Why are the notes not bending?
Oh, okay, that's so they bend. Yeah,
I would expect them to bend, but they're not. Not really sure why they're not bending. Huh, I'll have to look into that. So, anyways, I can add other notes in here too. So if I click on these, right, it's going to add, this is basically 16th notes or quarter note, 8 notes here. And it's just going to add more notes. I can, if I hit random here, what it's going to do is randomize all the rhythm. And every time it's going to be different. See how it's changing? And the slider here is about how dense I want it. Do I want lots of notes or just a little bit?
Right.
So if I have, like, if it's down here at 8, then I won't get very many notes at all. If I have it high, it's going to be mostly full. Okay? So, yeah, anyway, so moving on here, this bit here, this is actually really cool. So if I click on effects, it opens an effects panel, okay? And the effects panel has a bunch of stuff, obviously reverb and delay. This is the feedback of the delay, like how long it lasts, basically.
Yeah.
I can also hit these R's and see what it's going to do. So it's randomizing when the delay is on and also changing the note values of left and right of the delays, okay?
Does the feedback randomize?
That doesn't, actually, that's fixed. So if I turn those back off, I can turn that off. The reverb also doesn't have a randomizer. There's also a distortion unit in here. So if the level is at 100%, but right now there's none in it because the mix is off. Right. But if I crank this up, you'll hear it gets kind of dirtier. And it also has a mixer and also has an LFO. So if I want to intensify, if I want to set an oscillator, I have to turn this up. Okay. And then the last bit down here, of course, is adding what I call artifacts. I don't know how else to say it, but it sounds kind of dirty. Okay. And then there's also a randomizer. There's also a tremolo. Okay. And I can also turn these on random, and this is the same thing. Do I want this to turn on very infrequently or very often? Right? It's a percentage, basically. So it'll also give me constant variation, right? And then the last thing down here, of course, is a classic filter. If I want to do, for instance, a bandpass filter, I can turn it on. Okay. It also has an LFO, and if I set this to, for instance, to 4 bars, I can set the range of the motion with this upper slider, and now it's going to oscillate at 4 bars.
And it only stay okay. Yeah.
Yep. I can do like a high pass filter if I want. You get some really cool sounds with that. So anyways, I can always just close this out and reopen it here. Okay.
And reopen it where?
Open
it's
it.
The same button?
It's just, yeah,
okay.
Effects again. Oh, there's also, oh, was that maybe, no, if I turn the glide on too, listen to what I get. Let me turn most of these off. So I haven't. Not working.
It kind of sounds like the same thing with the.
I don't know why this isn't working. I need to look into it though. It should be going. Boop. It should be like literally ascending. Now. Well, that's not working at all. The pitch set, that's off. Keyboard. Oh, if I. Oh, the glide might actually be related to just the keyboard. Let me try it. Oh, this isn't working at all now. There's something fishy going on here. What did I... Oh, keyboard's off. I've totally lost pitch. I'm really confused. I mean, I use this thing all the time. I don't have these problems. Huh. It's weird that these pitches aren't reacting to this.
Because glide sounds like it's doing the same thing.
It's not doing anything.
That it's doing. Unless this is still on.
It is still on, but glide is totally different. This is a frequency sweep. Right. It's not a... Let me just set this back to all pass. Basically turns it off. Well, I'm gonna have to look into it. I'll probably have to give you a new version if I can fix it. I mean, there's still tons to do with this, even if the pitch. Well, my keyboard's not working. See how the notes are changing? Yeah. The pitch is back because I turned glide on. Weird. Okay, something's fishy. So I'll have to take a look at it. So glide is killing the pitch for some reason, but it would probably take me a long time to figure out what's going on. It's in here. This is the problem. You can see the glide right here. Yeah, not really sure what's going on. It's weird, but I'll fix it. Okay, let me just talk about these last little things then. So this is kind of a cool thing you can do, is that you can actually program these boxes to be different, like every 4 bars or whatever. If I shift click in here and save this, I can now actually access different patterns. See that?
Oh.
And if I turn play on and set it at a value like quarter note, it's now going to see how it's posting. It's now posting through these. What happened? Kind of a cool sound, actually. So, anyway, yeah, so this is really useful if I want to create different patterns in here and have it, like, you can have it switch every quarter note or every measure or whatever you want to do. If you hit hold, then every measure it's going to change, which after 4 beats it'll change. Okay, so then up here, the last few things. So this is the envelope for the sound you're hearing, okay? This is the envelope. What this does up here is change how long this envelope is. Right now this envelope is 2 measures long. If I go to half note, you'll listen to the difference. Actually, if I go really short, the envelope now is only an 8 note in length. Okay, half note. So if I want to do something, so what I tend to do actually is use this random thing. And it's really cool because what I can do is I can select 8ths and quarters and then hit randomize and watch what happens. It's going to randomize just those 2 note values. So sometimes the envelope is short, sometimes it's longer, right? And I can select more than if I want. If I wanted to randomize all 5, then I just click and drag them all. And then it's going to randomize the length all the time. So, but it kind of gives me constant variation in the length of the notes in these boxes.
Yeah.
So then the last thing to talk about here, this is the volume for the actual the row.
Yeah.
And then I can also change the rhythm here, okay, which can be really cool.
What does T do?
T is to add triplets. Okay, so if I don't have T turned on, watch what happens. It's going to randomize quarters, 8ths, and 16ths. Okay? If I turn T on, it's now also going to play triplets. Okay? And that's it. I mean, and the thing is, yeah, you can have 5 of these at once, which is pretty intense. Right now, I would not turn the glide on because that's what's breaking the pitch shifting, and I'm not really sure why, but I'll have to look and dive into it and figure out what's going on. Right. But that's basically it. You know, I do all kinds of interesting stuff with this, and oh, the last thing. So you in order to use this in FL Studio, you have to record it.
Yeah.
You have to record the audio coming out of Max.
That makes sense. And
the way you can do that is 2 different ways. So there are actually 2 of these down. Oh man, I can't remember which one's which either. I think the top one is mono, meaning that it's going to record not mono, stereo. It's going to record two voices, okay? Left and right channels. So what I have to do is I have to hit save first. Okay? Hit save.
And both of them or just one of them?
Just the top one. And what it's going to do is I can say, I can put it on my desktop. I have to label it like test audio. Okay? I hit OK, save. Then, while this is playing, I hit record. Okay? And now it's recording everything Max is doing in real time. Okay? When I'm done, I hit stop. And let me explain one other thing too. If you don't stop the recording process, it doesn't finish writing the file and won't work. So you have to make sure you start recording, stop recording to finish. The arm button is really cool too. So then what it does is, of course, on my desktop now, I have an, oh my god, my desktop is a disaster. I have an audio file that has this recorded, and now I can take it into Max or into Ableton or whatever. What this does down here is it saves it in 5 channels, which is really useful because now I can record each of them individually and then bring them into Max into Ableton as 5 separate channels, which is really cool. It's just a multi-channel down here. And that's really it. So anyways, I did record this entire thing, right? So I will upload this to YouTube for you and share you the link so that you can, I mean, because that was a shitload to cover in 15 minutes, and there's no way you're going to remember it all. So then you'll have a video of everything that I did. There's also a master LFO or a master filter. Right. So if you wanted to do any filter processing, you could do it here. What I recommend is that mostly you record things dry and then you do the processing in FL Studio. Because the problem is once you add an LFO on here or, you know, add a filter, you can't take it out, right? You're stuck with it over here. That same thing with like reverb and delay. I usually leave reverb and delay off when I record because I can add them in FL Studio and it gives me more flexibility, right? When it comes to mixing. So, what else? I think that's it. Any questions?
Not yet.
Okay. I mean, I would just start working with one. Forget all these other 4. Just start with one. Let me stop.